Hello and welcome to Forward, Mississippi State University's television show exclusively for the College of Education. I'm Camille Carskadden, the Communications Specialist for the college, and today on the show we have the Department Head of Instructional Systems and Workforce Development, Dr. Trey Martindale. Welcome.
Thank you, Camille. So nice to see you and nice to be with you on Forward.
It was great to have you. So, you've been the department head for a few years now. Tell me a little bit about yourself.
Well, I've been fortunate to be here at Mississippi State for the last 3 years. I actually came from the University of Memphis, where I served as a professor for 12 years. So I've been in higher ed for about 20 years overall. And my general area is instructional technology. That's my area of focus, and particularly online learning. So I've been studying that for many, many years. And I'm in a department now where we do a lot of online learning, so we're probably going to talk about that as well. But that's been my area of teaching and of research, but generally in instructional technology and just basically helping people teach and learn better. It's kind of the elevator pitch that I give to people.
Wonderful. Now, when people think of the College of Education, a lot of times they think teaching majors, high school educator or elementary educator, but that's not necessarily the case for your department, correct?
We have a really interesting and eclectic department, and we're not teacher education. So we're kind of like my friend Barry Kopetz over in music. We're kind of a different kind of department. So we definitely have some range. So I can talk about those different degree programs if you like.
Please do.
So we have two undergraduate programs. One is in Information Technology Services, ITS we call it, and those are students that are hoping to go into working in information technology, oftentimes in roles like a support person or a help desk person, someone that's overseeing an IT operation. And so because that area is growing so fast, it's a really high demand degree, and we have about 100 students in that major. And so that's a really interesting program that we have. They learn all kinds of things related to technology, even some computer repair and networking and things like that. So it's a fun major. They learn things like graphic design and web design, and so it gets a lot of interest not only for our majors but also students across Mississippi State coming and taking some of our classes. So I like to say that's kind of the fun department and also highly employable department. And another interesting area that we have is industrial technology, and this is a major with about 200 students in it. So it's a very large program, and this is primarily for students that want to go and work in production facilities as maintenance managers or production people like that. And so they go and work in a number of the large manufacturing facilities around Mississippi, places like Toyota and PACCAR and Steel Dynamics, and anyone that needs good industrial technology kinds of people. That program has recently been launched as an online program within the last year. And so it was already very popular, and now it's continuing to grow because of this online option. And I always try to work in, when I talk about a program like this, our students are coming out at about 100% employment. In other words, everyone that's graduating from this industrial technology program is getting a job almost immediately. We used to try to find co-ops for our students and internships, and employers would actually come to us and say, hey, can you send us an intern or a co-op person? And the student would often say, actually, I don't have time to do that because I already have a full-time job in this field. And so that's been very exciting for them and been a big promoter for our program. And they're coming in at salaries, $60,000, $70,000 a year starting out. So again, if you can get into the program, come on, we'd be glad to have you, but it is very popular because of those reasons.
That's fantastic. So I can imagine that all of your majors that you have in this department are very hands-on, correct?
Generally they are. Of course, we have graduate programs as well that I haven't talked about yet. So I'll mention those. So those were our two undergrads, the ITS and industrial technology. And we also have graduate programs that are primarily in instructional technology. Like we have our masters in instructional technology. And these are people that are often working in schools or other kinds of environments where someone has to learn, like businesses that have their sort of online university or their internal university or training center. And then also government and military installations. Anyone that has to do training benefits from someone that works as an instructional technologist. Even in higher ed, here at MSU, we have some instructional designers that we employ in our Center for Teaching and Learning. And so people that are getting this MSIT degree would be a good fit for those kinds of roles. And because we're in a world where people have to learn all the time on the job, the employment prospects for those people are also very good. And so they're learning about learning theory and how people learn and how to best facilitate learning. And along those lines, we also have an educational specialist degree and a PhD in those same areas. Our PhD is actually in instructional systems and workforce development. And so we have people that are wanting to develop their expertise and move into senior leadership positions in instructional technology or in workforce development. And so that degree has been very popular as well. And one other program that I'll mention is we have a veteran certificate that is also available both as an undergrad or graduate. It's cross-listed, and it's also completely online. And this is to support people that are working in areas dealing with people that have served in the armed forces. So supporting veterans, helping them get the benefits that they qualify for, and helping them, in some cases, transition back to civilian life. So that's been a really interesting program for us as well.
Wonderful. And you mentioned before that your expertise was online learning. Can you talk a little bit about that?
Sure. This is the kind of stuff I get excited about, along with many of our other faculty. This is a really crucial time just with what's going on in the country in terms of the growth and the prominence of online learning. Now, a lot of what's happening, with our current shift in higher ed has been what I would call emergency remote teaching. That's kind of what happened in the spring, and that wasn't really what I would call online learning. An online learning program is really well designed and well thought out, and it's using instructional design principles to create and facilitate a really effective online learning environment. And so that's what we're teaching people how to do within our programs, and what I've been studying for a number of years. And so, some people say that might be the future of higher ed. I would argue it's actually the present of higher ed, and that the prominence and the usefulness of using technology in teaching and learning is only going to continue to grow. And so the plus for something like online learning is being able to expand access to Mississippi State to people that can't necessarily, come to campus or come on a regular basis. And so that's been a big part of my driving interest in online learning, is being able to increase access to education for people that might not have it under normal circumstances because of work or family commitments, or just being an adult with lots of commitments that you've made. So I see online learning as a piece of an answer to help extend MSU across the state and across the region.
Wonderful. And are most of your degrees online as well as on campus?
Several of them are. Our industrial technology undergrad degree is now available as an online option. So it's both. It's face-to-face and online. And students sometimes get to, choose between the different options depending on if they just got hired away by Yokohama or something like that and want to, continue their degree while they're making lots of money. So we have that option for them. And also our graduate programs are available completely online. So our master's, our ed specialist, and our PhD are completely online. And that PhD has only recently become completely online, actually starting this summer or this fall. So we're really excited about that option. Every time we go to an event and talk about our degrees and talk about recruiting students, one of the first questions we get about our PhD is it available online? And that's simply, just a mark of the times that we're in. There are lots of competitors that are offering online degrees, some good, some not so good. We're in a little bit of a wild west for online education. And so I would argue having our brand behind a really high quality degree is only good for Mississippi State and good for the citizens of Mississippi. And so that's why we're offering that PhD online now.
Wonderful. And is it a little unusual to offer a PhD online? Is this something new that you're seeing across the country?
It was unusual 5 years ago. These days, it's actually fairly commonplace. As there have always been questions about online learning, and the classic question is it the same, or is it as good as face-to-face instruction? And the reason that makes me smile is the follow-up question it belies the assumption that's there, and that is that face-to-face instruction that you've experienced is somehow the gold standard for the best quality instruction you can get. And both you and I have taken lots of different kinds of courses, and some were fantastic and some were not so good. And it wasn't necessarily dependent on the delivery medium. It was more about the person designing the course and how it was being offered. So for online PhDs, it is relatively new. And the key part there is being able to replicate not just what's happening in the classroom, not just having good instruction, but also having a good community for those students. Because part of pursuing a doctoral degree is becoming a scholar and getting to experience that, what I would call the hallway talk, that kind of informal mentoring, the mentorship that comes with becoming a professional in your particular area of focus. So that's what we're trying to create, is that kind of community for our online students, so that they're able to connect with our faculty and with each other, and get kind of the best of both worlds in that sense, experience access to our faculty and to fellow students who are also doing interesting research in their area of focus.
And who would be ideal as an online learner? Who would be perfect for those types of degree programs?
In our program specifically,
Mm-hmm.
I can talk about that. It's funny, when we go and recruit, it sounds like it's everyone. Everyone is interested that we talk to. When I say, hey, we have this PhD in instructional systems and workforce development, and we talk a little bit about the curriculum, and there are lots of people that are interested in this area, because there is lots of interest around improving teaching and learning. And there are lots of employment opportunities around improving teaching and learning. And so when we talk to people that are interested in this degree, one of the first questions they have is, well, do I need to move to Starkville? Perhaps they live in Gulfport, or they live somewhere a little more distant. They know the brand of Mississippi State, and they know the strong history and reputation that the university has. And so being able to extend that online program to them is a win all the way around. And so it's really ideal for people that are working professionals now, those that are already in positions of responsibility, but want to improve their competence, want to have the credentials, and want to do the things that are needed to be able to move their career forward. So it's really great for people like that.
Wonderful. And since your expertise is online learning, and Mississippi State has moved to a lot of online classes this semester, do you have any advice for these students that are beginning their online education journey?
It's a good question. I would say, it's different for our undergrads and for our grad students, because many of our undergrads are those kind of traditional college-age students. Not all. We do have a number of adult students as well. And most of our graduate students are working adults that are already in their positions, or looking to move up, or gain some new credentials or expertise. So I guess the best thing I would offer in terms of advice is, do take the effort to connect with your faculty and to connect with your fellow students. And we're doing some things to try to make that available through email listservs and online communities and websites and web resources and things like that. But I would say it takes a little extra effort on the part of the student to reach out and make those connections, because you can't see people in person nearly as often. Or in some cases, some of our students, their only time to set foot on campus is at commencement, if they're able to participate in that. So a student sometimes has to make that extra effort to connect interpersonally with people, to create some study groups, some writing groups, some work groups, or just some friend groups within their own programs, so that they have a little bit more support and they don't feel isolated. Because that is one of the potential downsides of online learning, is not being able to be connected with people in person. And so sometimes you have to take some extra steps to connect.
Wonderful. Well, that's all the time we have, but thank you so much for coming on the show today.
Well, thank you, Camille. It's always great to talk to you.
For more information about the College of Education, visit educ.msstate.edu.